which sounds like a great place to start with this episode. Welcome everybody to whatever this is, the new round of episodes where myself and Efrain are going to be breaking down.
The Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Thank you, because I never remember the actual name of this one. I keep calling it I just call it Falcon and Bucky, or Bucky and Falcon, or whatever.
But I have a reason why they call it Falcon and Winter Soldier. But, yeah.
Well, and that was I had rolled around with the idea of recording a previewing episode of what do we think the show's going to be?
Yes.
Because you know that I pitched way back in the day that they would wait till the second before release, and then when they released this, it would be called Captain America and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
And obviously they didn't go that route. I do still think this will end with us getting a new Captain America. I lean towards Sam. I would be happy with
Sam
Bucky.
As well. I know everybody's like, it should be Bucky.
Bucky's got problems.
Exactly, and that's the thing. Bucky knows he has problems.
Yeah.
You know, that's why at the end of the Avengers Endgame, when he told Sam, go ahead, and then when Cap gave Sam the shield, and Sam looked at Bucky gave him the nod.
And I think that's even more of the reason why Bucky wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Was because Bucky was there and he saw Steve choose Sam. You should have this.
Yes.
And even if, because in the comics, when Bucky becomes Captain America, he becomes Cap because Steve was thought dead at the time. He was technically traveling through time because of time bullets. One of my favorite stupidest comic ideas ever, and I love it. But the only reason Bucky took the mantle was because he didn't think anyone else could live up to Steve, and he just didn't want it to be used for the wrong purposes. He didn't know Sam. He had never met him.
Yes.
And I think when they first run into each other while Bucky's Captain America, they fight for a little bit. It's a contentious relationship. And then a couple years later, when Sam becomes Captain America, there's no problem with it at all. Bucky's kind of settled into his, I'm a Black Ops Winter Soldier kind of guy. I'm just going to keep killing people from the shadows.
Exactly.
So
for better reasons this time.
Yes. Yeah. So the relationship between Sam and Bucky in the MCU is just completely different from what it was in the comics. And even then, we still don't really get to see them interact in this first episode.
Yeah,
they're doing... We're picking up where we left off with them, which is, there's so much good stuff in the first episode, but it's...
Yeah. Good.
We talked about this with WandaVision, but I really love how slowed down and how character-focused these are.
Exactly.
This wasn't just a matter of, here's a new action-adventure, and people are getting punched, and explosions are happening. It's...
Yeah, I love that, that we even have... Now, granted, throughout years in the comics, we saw Peter Parker going through the same thing about, even though he's Spider-Man, he still has a lot of personal, real-world issues about paying rent, certain things like that.
Sure.
And then we see this with Sam Wilson. We get introduced, to Sam Wilson's sister. Holy shit, he has a sister, and then he has nephews.
Yeah.
And even with the, asshole, bank teller guy telling them that, well, with the new rules, we can't deny a loan. He's a well-known superhero. He's an Avenger.
God.
But yet, he still can't get a loan from the bank.
Yeah.
It's really fucked up. And the fact that, they're struggling in real-world issues, it gives it more gravitas to these characters,
Well, and that was always the thing that made Marvel
yes.
when compared to DC. There's an old comic book saying where Marvel has characters, DC has legends.
Yes.
And even with Zack Snyder's new Justice League movie dropping, his interpretation of Superman is very much the lonely, iconic Jesus Messiah figure that has been played within the comics, but typically isn't the Superman interpretation. And then again, we come back to something like Bucky and Falcon, where Sam's a guy trying to figure out what life looks like when he doesn't have a battle to fight. Bucky's trying to figure out what...
Cap did the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, starting with the Winter Soldier.
And that's... Yeah. I thought it was real... we're jumping all over the place.
That's okay.
But I really liked when Bucky woke up from his nightmare and he was sleeping on the floor because your pillow's too comfortable.
It feels like a marshmallow.
It's back to that opening moment in Winter Soldier. Yes. And it's such a perfect echo of these two guys who are echoes of Steve Rogers.
It's very true. When Yeah, like you said, we're jumping all over the place. But when Sam is giving that speech, and he's like, Cap is a legend. Nobody's gonna be like Cap, and Cap was also the best in like standing there looking stoic. And everybody starts laughing, and it's like, yeah, that's true. That's why everybody laughed, because it's true. Because you can just look at Cap and be like, this dude is a legend.
And and of course, so much of it's going to be Sam's journey is coming to accept that we look at Steve as a legend because of the things that he did, but there's nothing inherently about Steve that is any better than the rest of us.
Yes.
He just does what he thinks is right and hopes for the best. And maybe it doesn't work out for the best. Like Civil War ends on a really somber note.
Yeah.
Because maybe he was wrong. All of his friends got imprisoned. The Avengers were destroyed. Like, he didn't really win that fight.
He did.
For the most part.
But yet, even when he knew he had lost, and even when he thought, him and Tony were at a fallout, he still sent that package and that note to Tony saying that, hey, I know we didn't come to terms, I know it sucked the way it was, but still.
But if you
ever need me, exactly.
Because Steve's a guy who'll do the right thing, even if it costs him, and it cost him his identity, I would say, as Captain America. It cost him his shield, his place in the Avengers, his freedom to some degree. We didn't really get to see the period where he would be in hiding. But it's watching Sam get from a place of, I could never be Steve Rogers, to a place of going, Steve just did what he thought was right, and that's all that he asks us to do ultimately. That's what will make you Captain America ultimately.
Yeah. Even Rhodey, Rhodey, your boy Rhodey.
Yeah, I was
like,
so happy
that
to
was
see
awesome.
Rhodey show up.
Like I said, that was the, when you were like, when I told you, hey, the actor spoiled a certain, you're like, no, don't tell me.
Don't tell me.
I didn't, because I knew you'd be thrilled as soon as you saw him. That was a great cameo. But even Rhodey was like, bro, you didn't take up the mantle.
Yeah.
That's why Steve left you the shield. Even he understood, but, living up to Captain America, like, is something that Sam thought. It's not something, it's not the same with, like, Rhodey doesn't have to live up to Tony Stark.
Yeah. Even as both dudes who wore armor, like, they were still completely different guys.
Yes.
Rhodey knows that he's not a super tech genius. He's a soldier.
Exactly.
He'll get down there and he'll fight and he'll kill if he has to, but he's not a tech genius. He's willing to lay down his life in the same way Tony grew to be.
That's why I love that interaction between them, because they both lost their best friends who were absolute legends in their own right. I really liked that. That's what I thought as they were talking. I'm like, Rhodey's best friend was Tony Stark, who was the world's most tech genius. Sam's best friend was Cap, who was, of course, an absolute icon and a legend. Both of them were, and they both lost their best friends. So, like, I liked that kind of interaction between them two, because even though they're, like, completely on the other side of each spectrum, they're still on the same line, to where, like, they kind of understand that.
And I think there's a degree too, because Rhodey was the Iron Patriot for a minute there in Iron Man 3.
Oh yeah.
And so I do think he understands.
I am Iron Patriot. Sucks.
Yeah.
I just like that line from Tony. But,
I'm there with him. War Machine all day.
War Machine all day, buddy.
But
War Machine rocks.
Yes.
That was the best.
With an X.
Yes, with an X. Yes.
But
that is so much better than Iron Patriot.
Yes. But that's he knows what it means to put on a flag and try to represent the country, and I would kind of argue fail at doing so. Iron Patriot, kind of a chump in Iron Man 3.
Yes, very much so.
So, like, he understands it, but again, Rhodey is also someone who knows you have to stand up and fight in order to do the right thing every time, even if you disagree with it. And that was even, I think it was Endgame, where Rhodey basically tells off, like, General Ross, where Ross
Infinity
is like...
War.
Infinity War?
Yeah.
When he's like, if you're interacting with Rogers, you gotta arrest him or whatever. And he's like, man, screw you. Like, we've got the world needs saving.
Yeah, he was like,
I'm not worried about...
He's like, if it wasn't those Accords, Vision and Steve Rogers would be right fucking here.
Yeah.
And he was like, you better not... yeah, Ross is like, you better not be going back and forth. You better make the right decision. And basically, Rhodey's like, I have now. He was like, not. He was like, you better stand with us. And he was like, nah, I made my decision.
Yep.
And then when Ross is like, arrest him, Rhodey's like all over it, and then he fucking gets rid of him. He's like, that's a court martial.
Yep.
Good to see you, Cap.
And he's not worried about it.
He's not worried about it because he knows exactly where he stands now.
And we saw that echoed with the loss of his legs. The scene at the end of that movie with him looking at Tony being like, look, if I had the choice to do it again, I would do it again.
Yes.
Because I had to do it. I wouldn't do it any other way. And I don't think we'll see a lot of Rhodey in this. I'd love to see him.
That's why I can't wait for Armor Wars.
Oh,
yeah, I know.
I'd love to see him help Sam cope with what this is going to be.
I think we might see him again.
You think?
Yeah, I think so because when he was like, all right, brother, he's like, I'll be in touch. I think we might at least see him one more time.
Could
maybe, be. Because in the MCU, I don't think there's a goodbye. Yeah, that's fair. When he was like, I'll keep in touch. I think we'll maybe at least see him one more time.
That's possible.
I think so. Yeah. Maybe when Sam finally takes up the mantle of Captain America, we might see Rhodey again. And it could set up Armor Wars. This could possibly set up Armor Wars. Who knows? But, I loved, just real quick, I love that scene in Endgame when Rhodey and Nebula are interacting after Nebula gets the orb. And Nebula's like, I didn't used to always be like this. And then Rhodey's like, neither was I. But, we take what we got, right?
Yep.
We work with what we got, right?
Work with what we got.
Yeah, exactly. So, it just shows his character. Do the best you can. You do the best you can. And that's exactly what he was saying to Sam in that interaction. It's like, yeah, we know you're not Captain America, but, he entrusted this to you.
Even really more, we know you're not a
It's a different time.
Yeah, we know you're not a living legend. We're not asking for a living legends. But it's the ironic beauty of Sam's moment of being like, we need heroes that represent the modern times. We need people to address today's problems. And then he turns the shield over and
which is what was so much more of a slap in the face at the end of the episode.
Well, there was a degree when they did put the shield in the Smithsonian, my first thought was, that shit's getting stolen.
Me too.
There's no way.
Me too. There's no way.
There's no way that doesn't get swiped.
Yeah.
So there's a part of me that I'm glad that the United States government didn't dick around with this. They're just like, nope, yank. Here you go, new guy. Good luck.
Here you go, U.S. agent.
But to that end,
just real quick, I just before just want to show everybody my gear. I don't know if you can see my shirt.
Yeah, you gotta stand up more. There you go.
Boom. Winter's coming. And then I don't know if you can see my socks, but I got Cap socks.
Not in there. There you go.
Right there? Alright. Yeah, so I'm nice and I'm set and I'm fucking ready here. So, yeah.
Efrain's a walking brand.
I am. I'm a walking brand. I always am. Ask all my friends. I'm a walking fucking brand. Whether it be Marvel, DC, all kinds of shit, anime, whatnot, I'm a walking fucking brand. So I'm representing Falcon and Bucky. Boom.
I have
Winter is coming. Winter is here.
I have a Cap shirt, folks. I just don't know where it is, so I didn't wear it. I'm not wearing it. My love is in my heart.
I'm representing for the both of us.
Yes, for sure.
Yes, indeed.
So that's with the introduction of the U.S. agent, which I don't know if he's really called the U.S. agent at this point.
Possibly not.
Or if he's just going to be called Captain America until he's not.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
We know he's John Walker.
We didn't, we barely got to see him.
Yeah, except at the end. I really like that little tease, even though you and I both agreed. We were like, shit! Yeah. That's how it ends, With almost every Marvel series, we're like, shit!
You got so, so used to it from WandaVision, and, even just having the week off of, I don't have to deal with that at least.
Yeah.
And then, again, even at double the length of a WandaVision episode, by the time this episode ended, I still wasn't ready to get back out yet.
Yeah, exactly.
The whole episode had a very somber tone to it. It really does feel like it's picking up on, the somber mood of Infinity War and Endgame.
Yeah, it did.
And then hopefully, it'll lead us into better times ahead.
They knew what they were doing by basically putting Captain America's legacy as more of like as a background to these two individuals, of Sam living up to the mantle and Bucky still having to deal with the nightmares and his prior life as the Winter Soldier.
Well, and that's Bucky's problem is like Sam's problem is going to be he's not going to think that anybody is as good as Steve Rogers. Like, I don't think Sam's going to be like, I should be Captain America, fuck this guy.
Yeah.
It's going to be, if this dude thinks he's Captain America, he's going to have to live up to it.
Yes.
But I think Sam would give him the opportunity to do so, to prove or fail.
Well, that's the government's mistake, is thinking that they could just slap the shield on someone and call them Captain America. Yeah.
Where Bucky, I think, is going to be much more, nobody can replace Steve Rogers. I don't care who you give the shield to. I'm taking that shit back.
Yes.
And I think that's more of going to be the journey, is Sam realizing that he has every right to take up this mantle, and it's going to be Bucky giving him shit the entire time to get him to that point, kind of thing. Bucky, I really liked the Winter Soldier in the comic books.
Yeah.
Bucky, to me, is a much more sympathetic character. Again, Captain America, even when he's a well-written character, feels very perfect. And Bucky's inherently flawed.
Yes.
Even if he didn't mentally choose to do the things he did as the Winter Soldier, he's still haunted by those actions.
This first episode proved that.
And he has to live with the repercussions. And they visualize that so well in this episode.
They really do. With, him having the nightmare, them going directly to that sequence where he's the Winter Soldier, him killing all those people, and then him killing the innocent bystander, who later turns out to be
Yuri's son.
Yuri's son. Yeah, exactly. Who he's befriending, and he has to live with that guilt, and you feel for him because back in Civil War, when Tony found out that Bucky's the one that killed his parents, and then Tony says to him, "Do you even remember them?"
Yeah.
And Bucky goes, "I remember all of them. Every one of them." It's really sad because he has to live with these nightmares that he's killed people and he didn't even know he was doing it, but yet he still remembers it.
And that was a really cool thing. Surprise, folks, my wife watched this episode with me. She skipped all of WandaVision.
That's a rare... Yeah, exactly. That's a rare thing.
This is as big a surprise as anything that happened in the
really
episode.
good WandaVision was. She was like, maybe I'll watch it later.
Yeah, she'll get to it.
Yeah, she'll get to it. Yeah.
But while the nightmare scene was happening, we were discussing it, because she was like, is he a bad guy again? And I'm like, hang on, they explain.
That's exactly. I was like, he's the Winter Soldier again. This is a dream.
And I had the first thought. I was like, no way is he the Winter Soldier again. And then I was like, well, maybe he's still like pretending to be the Winter Soldier to like kill bad guys, and he can still blame it on the Winter Soldier, and then he just goes home and he's Bucky Barnes or whatever.
No, I knew as soon as, I knew it was a dream when he was killing these guys, but I knew as soon as he said Hell Hydra to the guy, I'm like, okay, this is a dream.
That's when I was like, oh, this can't be real. But the thing that threw me off was they didn't have on the eye makeup.
Yeah.
And that really threw me at first.
The eye thing, yeah.
And I pointed it out to my wife, and she suggested that he may not have the makeup on because we're seeing Bucky riding the Winter Soldier in that scene. He's not the Winter Soldier anymore. Mentally, that's Bucky, and he's just trapped in this sequence. So he's seeing clearly, and then he wakes up, and I was like, oh, that's so good. Yeah, that's so good. Yeah. Oh, that was Lacey was like, did I just blow your mind with that? And I was like,
that was actually pretty good.
And I was like, I didn't think of that at all. And then she put together the Yuri thing real quick too. They were still in the bar scene, and she leaned over and she was like, should I know this guy? And I'm like, they're going to explain why he's important in a minute. And then she's like, oh, Bucky killed his kid, didn't he? And I'm like, damn, jeez, woman.
She watches it, man.
It's too easy for you.
If she gives herself a chance, she's good.
Oh, yeah.
She's good at theorizing.
But I loved Bucky's friendship with Yuri.
Well, I said that to when you said he lost his son. So I was like, oh, that was the kid at the beginning. And then you saw it in Bucky's face.
Yeah.
He's just, he has to deal with that. When he went to the shrink. He has to make amends. He has a list. You see how long that fucking list was? I mean, Jesus Christ.
Well, and that's one of the things that I
He's
like.
Hi, my name is Bucky. I'm not longer a Winter Soldier. Just here to make amends.
And that pained smile.
Yeah, I know. Oh. You could tell he's like, that smile is so forced. Yeah.
Well, and that's one of the things that I really liked is they showed us, here's a character that the Winter Soldier affected, and he can do something about it. Lock him up, put him away. Okay, that one's undone. But then with Yuri, how do you tell this guy?
He still couldn't. Even when he went to his apartment, he was going to tell him, and he saw that memoriam shrine to his son.
And what do you do?
Yeah, what do you do?
Like, he'll never get absolution from this man. Like, and that's, and Bucky's going to remain haunted by this because he just can't.
And that's why I believe the show is called The Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Because this is Bucky having to deal with the ramifications of when he was the Winter Soldier, and he has to live with that for the rest of his life. Even trying to make amends or not. As you just said, there are some things that you can't make amends for.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. And he has to live his life knowing that he was the Winter Soldier, and he hurt all these people, and that's why, not because, Falcon and Bucky doesn't have as much ring to it as the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but that's definitely the reason why it's called the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Because we're seeing what, unfortunately, he's going through, especially like going back to when he killed Tony's parents. What he did, how bad he felt. While Tony was watching it, like Bucky, like he had this look like, shit.
Yeah, you could see him going,
oh, damn, fuck, damn.
Yeah.
Shit. Yeah, exactly. And, you saw that same look throughout this episode.
That's, I loved the characterization for Bucky. I love the constant, old jokes were great. And again, getting to see
106?
them... 106?
Yeah, he told that chick and she started
not
laughing.
Lying,
and
she's
not
just like,
lying. Yeah, he's 106, yeah.
Yep. That stuff was really cool. I liked him stopping the Lucky Cat's arm. Yeah. Which is, ironically, the same arm that he has is a robotic component.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cute.
Yeah, that was really cute. I'm left-handed as well. So,
yeah. Again, the character work.
Cool.
The character work was so well done for them. Yeah. And then knowing that the Shrink was a former soldier as well.
Yeah.
So this isn't just a matter of I'm a psychologist and I can't relate. She's like, no, I know what it was to kill people, to leave bodies on the field, and have to come home and live with that.
Exactly.
And it's hell.
That's why he kept denying that. She kept asking him, in your dreams. He's like, I didn't have any dreams.
He didn't have any nightmares.
He didn't have any nightmares.
And I would argue he didn't. He had memories.
He had memories, yes.
He didn't have nightmares.
Like, I'm not having nightmares. Yeah, she was like, that is absolute bullshit.
Which is also true.
So, yeah. But you're right on that. Exactly. He didn't have nightmares. He had memories.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunate memories that, it's like, well, what your wife said, it's basically just him going through the sequence. Yeah. Trapped inside the Winter Soldier.
It's just what his life is.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. And, even the Shrink saying that, like, you have no fucking friends. Sam has tried to message you over and over, and you still don't respond to him. Like, what the hell?
And I like that even as much as those two fought each other in Civil War, Sam's still willing to reach out.
Exactly.
I don't know what Sam wanted or whatever, but just the idea that he's like, hey, man, you all right? You doing okay?
Yeah.
Again, there's a connection there that even if it's not a deep one, Sam's not willing to let go of.
Yeah.
And we get to see that to some degree with the family stuff. The fishing boat, the house. Again, the idea that there's a legacy here that Sam won't let go of. But how do you fight to keep it yours kind of thing? Same kind of thing. We're going to see that struggle fantasized through the Captain America legacy stuff. Mm-hmm. But that stuff was heartbreaking.
Yeah, it was.
Watching him struggle with his sister, and on the one hand, Sam's super charming. I love the don't hit me. That was
it's I forgot how hard you hit.
Yeah, that was
he's like when he was about to go on the boat, he was like, let me talk to you about something. Don't hit me again.
Hit me again.
Yeah, don't hit me again.
And he's dead serious. The smile's gone when he says that. Yeah. He's serious. Or even the one guy on the dock who's like, when are you going to let me borrow them wings? And he's like, when you give my sister back the $100 you borrowed.
Yeah. Exactly,
that's great.
Man. That's good stuff.
It helps ground Sam's character and remind you of the fact that he's human. And then, like you said, the bank scene, they deny the loan. And then playing with the idea, too, of do superheroes make money?
Yeah.
How do they get paid? Where does that
And he's
come
like, you know, I
from?
have government contracts that prove that. He's like, well, maybe in the old times, yeah, but stuff like this is new.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, could I get a picture of you with your hands spread out, and then you just want to punch the dude in the face?
Yeah. Like,
it's like, you stupid ass son of a bitch.
To look at this guy and go, you're a hero and I love you, but then not be a hero to him as well. Like, to not return that favor of, man, I put my life on the line, like, saved the world.
Like,
you can't give me a bank loan?
Give me a bank loan.
Jeez, man. Like,
if it wasn't for me, you wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically.
It's heartbreaking.
It is. It's really heartbreaking. You know, it's the struggle. You know, that's why it's really good because, you know, in general, we view these certain people, like you said, as superheroes trying to save the world, but they go through some hardships as well.
Sure.
You know, there's, you know, granted, like, Bucky and Sam are going through their own hardships, which is definitely one of the reasons, I'm sure, why they link back up. You know, they're gonna
link up over the new Captain America.
Yeah, they are. They're gonna link up over that. You know, they're gonna find out that, like, they both need each other more than they know.
Yeah.
You know, most definitely, with both of them each going through certain things like this. You know, it's, you know, when what was it, when the shrink tells Bucky, he's like, you don't even have like 10 friends on this phone.
You don't even have 10 phone numbers.
Yeah, you don't even have 10 phone numbers. And I believe it's Bucky once again going back to when he was a Winter Soldier. And, like, even though he was hanging out with Yuri, he's befriending Yuri and stuff, he still has that grief in him that, like, he killed his son.
Yeah.
The same thing when he was on the date with, you know, the
bartender.
The bartender. Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
think she's named.
I don't believe she's named either.
That was actually one of the things when they were doing, like, the date scene and she was asking him all these questions, and I was like, I know you've been out of the field for a while, man, but, like, reciprocate. Ask her a question. Yeah. Like, what, do you have any siblings? What is your family life like? Like, nope, she just keeps talking the whole time. And
keeps talking.
And I get it. The idea was to teach the audience about Bucky and show more of his perspective. But yeah, definitely, like, date faux pas, man. Like, you gotta be interested.
But yeah, exactly. But even that, like, he thought of something and then he just left. Yeah. He just left her there.
Well, and that's, to some degree, like, that's how unimportant the date was. Because, I mean, he was vaguely forced into it.
Pretty much. And
then, too, it goes to show that he views what he owes Yuri as more important.
Yeah.
And which is why he gives the excuse of, like, I forgot I owed you the money.
Yeah.
I got to pay you back for lunch.
Like, he was going to tell him, but like, once he saw that, like, shrine, he was like,
just broke him.
He's like, damn, how?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how to do this. You know?
And I love,
like, the guilt just completely just overshadows his reason.
Well, and it's one of those things too of, like, now he's befriended Yuri. Yeah. Like, this isn't just a matter of, like, he walked up to him on the street and they just
exactly
met.
Yes,
they clearly have known each other for some time. That's Bucky even says, like, we always go to lunch on Thursdays or whatever, like, let's go. Like, there's a friendship there now there's a new relationship. And if Bucky tells him that he was the Winter Soldier and that he killed his son, now not only did he kill his son, but he's killed this new relationship too.
Yeah, exactly.
And I won't say that's as bad, but isn't that not helpful either?
No.
And so Bucky has to keep swallowing it.
Swallowing it, exactly.
And it's still just not healthy.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, you know, the only person that knows what Bucky's going through is possibly Sam, and vice versa.
Yeah.
You know, because they have that link with Cap. You know, Cap. Bucky was his first best friend. Sam was his new best friend. You know. So they each have that link, and, you know, of course, I'm sure that the very next episode, like you said, they're probably going to link back up with the new Captain America. Coming out.
As I said, I think we're going to see Bucky's going to go on the offensive of, you shouldn't have that shield, and Sam's going to be more like, I mean, that's what they chose to go with, nothing I can do about it, kind of thing. And Bucky's going to be the one, like, kicking him in the ass.
Yeah,
like,
Bucky's going to be like, why the hell did you give up that shield in the first place?
Yeah,
he gave it to you.
You'll fight for your family's house in your ratty ass sinking fucking boat, but you won't fight for Steve's honor? Like, what the fuck, man?
Exactly. He gave you that shield for a reason.
He chose you.
He chose you, exactly.
Not some schmuck.
Yeah, exactly. Not some schmuck that they dress up as freaking Cap. that the government gave. Like, what the hell?
So, and that's, I've this era of Captain America comics isn't an era that I'm familiar with, but I love the idea of playing with the concept of, like, is Captain America like an IP that you can just slap on whoever you want and get like a government seal of approval? Is Captain America a vigilante and it's not owned by America at all at this point? Like, there's a lot of interesting ideas wrapped up in there, which obviously the show's going to be exploring.
Yeah. I mean, that's what the government will lead you to believe.
Yeah.
Along with other things.
Well, and I like the idea of, like, the shield's technically government property.
Yeah.
This was made in war for use in war by a soldier that we lent it to, type of thing.
Exactly.
And Steve just kind of kept it because what are you going to do?
See,
but Steve's gone now.
Yeah, exactly. And that's definitely their way of thinking.
Yeah.
But it's not, it's the difference between them believing Captain America is just a symbol as opposed to both Sam and Bucky knowing the person behind the shield.
The Captain America was a man.
Exactly. A good man.
More than a symbol.
Exactly.
And it was because he was a good man that he became such a powerful
Not just
symbol.
that's what the Doctor told him in the first Avenger. You know, he chose him because he's not just a soldier, he's a good man.
Yeah.
And Sam knew that, and Bucky knew that. And that's why this is going to, like, be so much more personal to them. That's why you saw Sam at the end when they gave the shield to this guy. Yeah.
Just
he's like, son of a bitch. And he's like,
man, I felt that. And then his sister too, like, and so much.
Yeah, she's the one that's like, you got to watch this.
And
she knew.
And she's looking at him, knowing that he'll be upset that this is going to break his heart. And it's cool to see that.
Yeah.
Because they had such a contentious relationship throughout the episode that it's easy to just be like, man, they're siblings, they hate each other, whatever.
Yeah.
But no, she also knows that this was important to Sam, and this is going to hurt, and he needs to know about it so he can deal with it. But she's still looking at him not knowing how he's going to take this, and it's just even more heartbreaking.
It is. It is.
Oh, man.
It is even more heartbreaking that, like, she knew that he would take this more personally because Steve was his best friend.
Yeah.
And she knew that, too. That shield was so important to him that, he'd rather give it away to, quote-unquote, continue Captain America's legacy as opposed to trying to take it over.
Yeah.
Which he didn't want to do. And the fact that the government just said, like, to some soldier guy, was like, here's a shield, you're the new Cap.
And to be fair, I'll play slight devil's advocate of, we don't know John Walker's history in the MCU at this point.
Well, no.
He could be a perfectly good dude.
A friend of mine, asked me that, and I'm like, well, obviously, I think if they didn't choose him, like, then he wouldn't be a decent soldier. Like, I'm sure he could probably fight,
That's the thing. He's going to be a good soldier.
Yeah.
He's not necessarily going to be a good person.
He could be, in the comics, I told him, I was like, well, he's kind of an asshole in the comics, so he might be more of an asshole Cap.
U.S. Agent is famously a dick. Yeah. Like, that's his greatest character trait. He has no patience for, like, coddling anybody or pretending that things, like, he'll say things could get better, but, like, if you're having a bad day and you're upset about something,
them's the breaks.
Yeah, he's the guy who will punch you in the face and say you need to get the fuck back up and get back in there because you crying isn't going to help a snowflake. Like, that's exactly. John Walker.
Yeah, that's John Walker.
He's very well intentioned, but he is cruel and thoughtless at the same time.
Yeah.
And it'll be.
It's almost like, just by seeing the trailers or whatnot, he's the one that's Steve didn't want the attention. Steve just wanted to be Captain America for the right reasons. This guy, is probably like he's gonna, like, take in all the popularity to the fact that he's gonna be the new Captain America.
I personally hope that this guy has the same vibe as whoever the jerk soldier in the first Avenger was. The dude that Tommy Lee Jones's character was like, why don't you make him Captain America?
That guy, yeah.
And that's when he's like, because he's an asshole. Like, you can't give bullies more power because then they just become bigger bullies.
Yeah, exactly, because he's a bully.
And that, in theory, that'll be John Walker. It's also important to note, in the comics, John Walker does remain a superhero. He goes on to join the Avengers. He's a legit good guy, and he's always rough around the edges.
Yeah.
But
he his intentions are. He's not a villain. At all.
He'll kick you in your ankles, but he will also save the world right next to you because you have to.
Yeah.
When the chips come down to it.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It'll be interesting to see what he's going to be like.
That's what I'm wondering. And he's going to be involved more because they got the actor Wyatt Russell, who's like, I don't know if you knew, he's Kurt Russell's son.
Okay.
He's been in a few things. It's weird because a lot of things he was in, he's had a full beard, but now he's completely shaved. So he looks really weird to me now.
He's certainly got that square jaw.
Yeah, he's got the square jaw thing. Yeah.
God dang, man.
But it's like I said before, WandaVision. Like, they wouldn't get a certain actor like that unless he's going to be more involved.
One of the small things that I did notice during that reveal scene, you can see it very briefly when they're doing the camera around the new Captain America. He's got a gun holstered on his leg. Like, you can just see it between the shield and his hip. So right away, you can see that this character, because even though Captain America did use guns in the Avengers movies, he never went into battle armed with one.
Yes.
And
that's true. I mean, in the first Avenger, when they first showed him with the commandos, he was.
I would argue that was war, and that's a different situation.
Yes, absolutely.
Whereas running into Ultron robots or something.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas they first introduced the guy, it's not like Cap had a holster and he took the gun out. Yeah. But whereas this guy, he's got a gun in a holster, so that's part of his armada.
And it's very telling that right away this is a guy who's going to be more offensive as opposed to Captain America's defensive.
Yes.
Man, we've what are we? We're at about 40 minutes.
Okay.
Which is fine, but it boggles my mind that we haven't even touched on any of the action sequences.
No, I was thinking that as well. The fact that we at the very beginning of the movie we had an awesome fucking action sequence with Falcon and fucking Batroc is back. George St. Pierre. As soon as I saw him, I was like, George St. Pierre. And Batroc is back.
And that's
fucking awesome.
And we went into this hoping that it would have Winter Soldier vibes.
Yeah.
And that political action thriller kind of thing.
Saying this real quick, Henry Jackman, who did the music for the Winter Soldier, did the music
also
for
scored this.
Yes.
It's fantastic.
Fucking awesome, man. Brilliant.
But yeah, so it was cool to see Batroc as a nod to the previous version kind of this kind of story.
Absolutely.
Getting to see Batroc again was great. Yeah. Getting that cocky sense of humor was cool.
He had the big smile. In the comics, his name is Batroc the Leaper, and he was leaping out of planes and copters and stuff. And
it was so great.
What's awesome was, and Ben and I talked about this earlier, is the fact that when they were jumping out of the plane and putting on the helmets, he had the distinct yellow helmet, which in the comic books, his mask had the yellow with the exact same black lines and everything.
Yep.
So the fact that they made his helmet a nod to his outfit in the comics was pretty awesome.
That's the only things he's missing in the comics. He has this black eyepiece, which is pointed
up,
and then he's got a thin black mustache
there,
like Wesley from Princess Bride.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, but again,
it was great though.
In terms of we don't want to make this dumb looking superhero costume real. This is a good way of
it is.
nodding and winking to it and being we know. But we're also not.
It's really cool, And then right before he puts the helmet on, he gives the Batroc the big smile, and then he puts it on and he jumps out. It's so awesome. It was so cool to see George St. Pierre in there again. The fact that they used him again and he survived at the end.
We might see Batroc again.
Which is really cool.
Whether in this or somewhere else, I don't really care. It's it's a staple of superhero comic books that your villains continually show up over and over again. Yeah. And the MCU has killed off most of its villains. So it's cool to me to, even if it's just a character who is a martial artist, show up and be like, nope, I'm still here and I'm still dangerous.
I'm still doing bad shit.
Awesome. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's so cool. And this action sequence to start off the episode, the first episode with this ridiculously cool ass action sequence. Brilliant.
I said it before when we saw Winter Soldier for the first time, Falcon in the comics visually never works for me because it's a static image.
Yeah,
It's just a dude
it's just wings
doing
out.
this.
Yeah.
But in getting to see him in the movies and watching him spin and dive and integrate that into his combat,
and now his technological, weaponry.
Adding in Red Wing to that is a fun update.
Very fun.
When he grabs the one LAF agent and like then booster packs like his head into like the crate to hit him. Again, just a clever way of taking the things that make him the Falcon, but it's more than just he just flies. Like, no, he can do more than that.
He can do more than that.
And that's really cool to see get played. And then again, to watch him fly through the air and he's spinning and he's flipping and he approaches the helicopter blade, he goes and does the one like big flapping away. Again, visually,
awesome. Even when
this
he's
works
in the plane stopping them, and then like they start shooting from the back, but he turns around and uses his wings as a shield.
Yeah.
Certain cool things like that. And then he takes, Red Wing out. It's so...
That was great.
It is. It's so cool, man. And it just shows you how much skills Sam has learned now. Because, his fighting skills, like, so much more improved from the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Because, he's Cap's his best friend. Of course he's going to learn a lot more fighting skills.
Sure.
From Cap, obviously. So it's really cool to see Sam on a mission like that. And just him being straight badass.
Well, and in theory, too, while we didn't get to see a lot of what Sam did between movies.
Yeah, he was an exo. He was an exosuit agent, like before Winter Soldier, and then he was an Avenger after that. Yeah,
like
exactly.
So again, we didn't get to see stuff, but I'm assuming the Avengers probably stopped other incidents or low-level criminals between films, so it would make sense
in between
to me.
like Age of Ultron and Civil War.
I was gonna say the very end of Age of Ultron when the cast is like grouping together for the first time.
Yeah,
Sam's there.
Sam's there. Sam, Rhodey, Wanda.
Yeah. So again, he's probably been training. I would love if we could get a like flashback sequence of him and Chris Evans training, like specifically the idea of like. Oh my God. You can fly, but you need to be able to fight.
Yeah.
I remember that being a thing in Avengers comics was like Captain America was always in their equivalent of the Danger Room, and he was always harping on like, Hawkeye, your thing's a bow and arrow, but what happens when you don't have those? Like you can't just get beaten. You got to know how to fight. He taught Tony to some degree. They actually referenced that in Civil War specifically.
Yeah, that's right.
I would love to see one of those things. Again, I know Chris Evans is done in the MCU, but that would be a cool flashback opportunity.
Cool flashback thing to just he might be in future stuff, but then like the future stuff was like flashbacking to him and Sam training.
Yeah, I think that would be a cool way
awesome.
of getting him to show up, but he doesn't have to suit up or do these 18-month long shoots or whatever. Like it would be neat. That was a cool action sequence.
I think that would be awesome to like how we got like all of a sudden we got that little Winter Soldier sequence to like have a sequence all of a sudden like you see two guys training and then it reveals that like it's Steve and he's training Sam.
Yeah.
And it's like a sequence to basically say what you said. You're great up in the air, but what's going to happen if the wings? You get rid of the wings. Like what happened Winter Soldier? Winter Soldier took away his wings.
Yeah.
What are you going to do after that?
Once you're grounded, you still have to be able to handle yourself.
Exactly. You still have to fight like hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah. Not that I'm implying that Sam couldn't, but
right.
Fighting supervillains is also a lot different than fighting soldiers or insurgents.
Fighting monsters and magical creatures and shit. That's something Sam.
What was it? Evil Captain Space Cape. His sister said something along those lines. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. What happens when you need to do holding action against Thanos?
Yeah.
You gotta know. You gotta be prepared to some degree.
Exactly. You gotta be prepared to some degree.
Even if it's just soak up those punches.
Yeah. And it's obvious in the sequence that we saw, like Sam's skills. Exactly. Not to say that he didn't have skills before. He obviously did, but you just tell from here like. This dude's skills have improved.
Just honed in a lot more on this one.
Yeah, definitely since he fought Ant-Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just want to let everybody know Cap does not need to know about this.
Yep. And that would actually be a really cool way of following up on that scene. Is then the next thing Cap does is like...
He makes fun of him for the Ant-Man thing.
Maybe you should train a little bit more in combat, Sam, and just not rely on flying around so much.
Yeah.
That's... I still haven't pinged in on why I feel this way. I don't like Torres, and I don't know why.
I might know why.
Like he feels like he feels like Spanish Tom Holland to me.
I can see that.
And the whole time I was just like, I feel like
Especially that part when Sam rescued the pilot and he started cheering. Yeah, that kind of bothered me too.
There's something, I feel like he is, as a character, he has been built for me to like him. Yeah. No, that he's built to be endearing. Mm-hmm. And I think that makes him feel like fake to me. Yeah. And so I immediately go, oh, I don't actually like you. Because nothing he does in the show is bad. Like, he's willing to risk his life. I like his friendship with Sam. I like that he's kind of like Sam's like contact with the Air Force or whatever. Yeah. All of that stuff is fine. I have no good reason to say that I don't like this character. Yeah. Something about him, I was immediately like, I don't.
I guess it just seems like he's kind of he's sort of forced her to be like hey man, like, you know, cool stuff going on. Maybe you're an Avenger.
It does kind of feel like I don't know. It feels like a 13-year-old kid hanging around with like a 30-year-old adult.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. It seems like, you know, he's this, you know, high-ups military guy who still hasn't kind of matured yet. Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like he's taking in the fact that, like, you know, I work in the Army, man. This is such a cool gig, you know. Exactly. It's like how Tom Holland, you know, joined the Avengers, you know, like, Mr. Stark. Yeah. You know, Mr. Stark smells like a new car in here.
Maybe that's what it is bothering me, is Torres doesn't feel like what I would expect a soldier or like a government liaison character to feel like. Yeah.
Because it seems like he's a smart guy.
Yeah. I do like him being the dude who's more familiar with like what's going on in the internet than Sam. Yeah. Sam definitely feels like someone who wouldn't care.
Yeah, exactly.
He's got his own stuff to deal with, and that's what's important.
His Stark-like tech.
Yeah.
You know, I like the nice little mention there.
Well, and I loved the idea of they say Steve's maybe on the moon, like watching over us. And I'm like, well, you know, the Watcher did have a base on the moon. Yeah. And then for a while there, Nick Fury became the Unseen in the Marvel Universe, and he was on the moon watching the Earth. So, I mean, you know, what if... And even we actually don't know where Nick Fury is, other than that he's in space.
He's in space.
Maybe he's on the moon. Yeah. I don't know.
Maybe he is on
the moon. But I like the idea of maybe there's something to the conspiracy, but it's not at all what it actually is. And that's, you know, I love Sam being like, when he's like, what are you doing in Washington? He's like, it's moon stuff.
Yeah, moon stuff. Yeah.
Super charming and funny. Again, Sam's super likable in this.
Yeah, Sam is super likable. You know, the fact that Anthony Mackie didn't even have to audition for the role. You know, I thought that was cool.
That's fantastic.
Kevin Feige just gave it to him. Because I read the art because he kept emailing Marvel.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he kept emailing Marvel. He's like, I don't care who I play. He's like, I just want to be in it.
I mean, that would be me. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, he's like, I just want to be in it, man. And then, you know, that's when they started writing The Winter Soldier, and, you know, they were going to introduce Sam Wilson, and Feige's like, hey, man, you want to play Falcon? And that's why Mackie was like, fuck yeah! You know, yeah, he just wanted to be in it, but the fact that he didn't know he was going to be chosen to play Falcon. So, yeah, and then now look.
That's dope.
You know, yeah, it's fucking super awesome. Cool. It is. It's super cool. The fact that, like, you know, even these actors are also huge fans, like, is really cool.
Well, and it's the thing that I like about it too is, like, it seems like the actors are actually fans of the craft of it too. Yeah, like, it's not even necessarily like Anthony Mackie was a big Falcon fan specifically. He was just like, I want a chance to work with Marvel. The movies seem like a lot of fun. They sound great. Yeah. They make a bunch of money. Why wouldn't I want to be a part of this? Exactly. I'll do whatever I can do. Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Like,
yeah, and that's, you know, just him being a fan. And me bringing up you know, Marsala Ali, who's playing Blade in a few years in the upcoming Blade movie. Kevin Feige said he's the one that called him.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, Marsala Ali called Kevin Feige and said, hey, I want to be Blade.
Yeah.
And Kevin Feige said, when a 2-time Oscar winner calls you and says, I want to be Blade, what else are you going to say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How hard are you going to fight this?
How hard are you going to fight this? Exactly. So that's why that was the whole special Comic-Con thing when Marsala Ali came out and he put on the Blade hat. He was like, this wasn't me, this was him. He wants to play Blade. Yeah, so I think it's cool. The fact that these actors with this much gravitas, Academy Award winners and everything, are also big fans. They're like, hey, I want to play this character. And Feige's like, all right, cool. Can't argue with that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and he got certain, like Paul Bettany says, I will play Vision until the day I die. Yeah. Tom Holland's like, I want to play Spider-Man until the day I die. You know, now Chris Hemsworth with Thor. At first, he wasn't sure about Thor. But then after Ragnarok came out and turns out he could have fun with the character. Now he's like, I want to play Thor as until I die. So all these people like because they fell in love with these characters, and the same with us. We're falling in love with these characters, and them coming out with Disney Plus series, we weren't sure about them at first, but then now we're like, they take themselves seriously.
Yeah,
they're a huge part of the MCU now, and the fact that we're going into these characters even more specifically, it shows a whole new light to them. It's like what I said about WandaVision.
Yeah.
We're getting a new sense of these characters, and it makes it so much more interesting.
They're going from being the background like B-list characters, which again, I don't say that as like a critique of their characters.
Right.
I say that in terms of a story structure in an 1.5 to 2 hour long movie. There's only so many character beats you can hit. There's only so many arcs you can tell in a satisfying narrative. And I would always rather, like with Winter Soldier, is ultimately Steve's story arc. And don't get me wrong, Sam does a great job. Natasha does a great job. Bucky gets a good arc. Alexander Pierce gets a good arc.
Yes.
But it's ultimately
Underrated,
Steve's story. And I would rather have a clear narrative focusing on one character and have well-written B characters than force them into limelight that they don't need.
Yes.
I personally would argue that's my problem with the Aladdin remake, is it's Aladdin's movie, but then they really forced Jasmine's narrative to the forefront.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying Jasmine isn't an interesting character or that she couldn't be, but the movie wasn't Aladdin and Jasmine, it was Aladdin. She was a side character, just like the genie was a side character. And when you change that structure, it unbalances things to some degree.
Very true.
And with this, the Disney Plus shows, it's great to see these B-list characters getting A-list moments to shine.
Yeah, their names are in the titles.
Where they're going to be these bigger forces moving forward. Hopefully. We know we're going to see the Scarlet Witch again. Hopefully we'll continue to see her past that. We're probably going to get a new Captain America out of this, and hopefully we'll continue to see him again and again. I don't... That's my biggest fear, is that we get like a new Captain America and he'll appear once in the background of another movie and they'll be like, oh, that's Captain America! And then we never see him again, and it just breaks my heart. And I don't think that's what they're going to do,
I don't
but that's my
believe
fear.
So. I don't believe so. I think this is one of the purposes of the show. Otherwise, if that was the case, then Sam would have been Captain America already.
Yeah,
so
that's fair.
Yeah.
We would have gotten a Fox X-Men movie, and we just would have skipped right over it. Why have character work when you can have spectacle?
Yeah, it's... exactly. But, it's just great, because on my way here, going down I-4, I happened to look up at a digital billboard, and boom, the Falcon and Winter Soldier advertisement was there. I'm like, that's awesome. That's how big it's gotten. Now you're seeing advertisements anywhere, especially now the huge success of WandaVision, and then now you're introducing a show that's completely different. Completely different, even from the first episode. That first action sequence, as I was watching it yesterday, I'm like, let's fucking go. Yeah. Let's go. I'm so amped.
That's as good as anything I've seen in the movies.
Yeah.
Like
and then the music, and then, being it, it's Winter Soldier music, and seeing Batroc, I'm like, oh my god, yes. Elements from my favorite Marvel movie? Oh, fuck yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
That's why I ended, I'm like, I want more.
And to have all of those really well done action sequences, which feel like movie action sequences.
Yes, very much so.
I had complained in WandaVision that like the Vision versus Vision fight felt silly, like it looked silly to me.
Yeah.
And then I watched this, and it's a dude wearing a flight harness, and I get it, but like it felt real. It was thrilling. Yes. It was exciting. Again, it made me appreciate Sam in a way that the comic books just have never been able to sell me on. And then Bucky's fight scene as the Winter Soldier in the Nightmare sequence, he felt like the Winter Soldier. He was cold. Terrifying. He was economical. Yeah.
The very first scene was him, like, shoving the metal arm out of a wall and then grabbing the dude.
That's perhaps the only thing I didn't like, because I was like, that feels really overt for a character who's an assassin.
He's supposed to be stealth.
Who's supposed to, like, sneak in and kill people. You just punched a hole in the wall, man. And then threw a guy through
Maybe
it.
at that time he wasn't.
And that's, whatever. Yeah. It's a small flashback moment. I'm not going to cry about it. But yeah, and then to have all of that excellent action sequences, and then to have on top of that such good character story elements that feel real, that feel grounded, that reinvest you in these characters who have been background characters. Flipping Bucky's been a footnote in the past couple movies that he's appeared, and it's just been like, oh, I guess he's in Wakanda.
That's
true.
I
guess he's got a gun now. I guess he's shooting people. there's been no character
That's
there.
true.
So it's cool to see them.
He got a new arm. That
Yeah.
was probably the biggest thing about
was the
Buffy's.
most exciting thing Bucky's done.
He got a new arm. And a Rocket telling him, I'll get that arm. That was it. That was basically it.
So it is very cool to me. I hope one of the people that's on that phone is Rocket. I don't think that's the case, but I'd love it. Even if, especially,
that would be really cool.
Especially since Bucky would never respond.
If she had gone through it and you saw Sam, Steve, Rocket,
yeah,
yeah,
and she's just like, who? And he's like, don't even worry about it. I hate that guy.
It's like, Rocket? It's like, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
It's like heat's trash. Don't worry about it.
Sure. But yeah, again, and to have such good character work done on top
or it said Trash Panda instead of Rocket. I don't know. Yeah.
I don't think Bucky would use Trash Panda.
No,
he's too old.
No,
for
only
that.
Quill would use that. Yeah.
Definitely Quill would do that.
Or maybe just Raccoon.
Yeah, I could see Raccoon. Or just RR maybe.
RR.
Raccoon. Yeah. But yeah, to get such good character work on top of it all, I was so happy.
Was great. So good.
Entirely entertained and thrilled in a different way from WandaVision. Such a cool experience.
We haven't even been introduced to Sharon Carter yet. We haven't even been introduced to Zemo yet.
We didn't even see Zemo.
Yeah, not even Zemo yet.
And we're at just almost an hour, and we still haven't even talked about the Watchdogs.
Yeah.
And Flag Smashers.
Yeah, Flag Smashers, which the guy he had. He
had some kind of
super strength,
and that was when Sam was like, do you think that? And then he was like, nah. And Torres was like, no. Are you thinking? And then Sam's like, nah, don't worry about it. Like, Sam's got some inkling of what's going on there. We don't know yet, but like, Sam's keyed into something.
Yeah, it's like bad guys have bad guy names now.
Yeah,
he's like, they're worse names out there. Yeah.
That's the Flag Smashers are a neat comic book concept, so it's cool to see them kind of get the comic book nod, and then to have them be like tech savvy, where they're like techno terrorists using like crowdsourcing to get away with their crimes. Like, this is a cool modernization of that. Like,
I'm wondering. I'm sure they're gonna explain it, but the guy that had like kind of the super strength. I'm wondering if this is new, like technical. Like serums coming out now, or did he exist back when Bucky and Steve existed and they just not forgot about him, but like maybe he was left over somehow.
Sure,
who knows? I said, they'll explain that later.
I don't, because
it's something like this. I'm guessing it's probably some sort of new serum that came out. You never know.
If I remember, I don't remember. In the comics, there's legitimately a singular character named Flag Smasher. He dresses in black and white. He's got like a wrestler like belt buckle kind of thing, and then it's got like the globe on it, because he wants to smash everyone's flags. And I don't remember how he got his powers. I want to say that it's a bootleg super soldier serum kind of thing, and I could definitely see Sam
temporary, possible.
Yeah. There's also a degree where, again, we don't know, we haven't seen Zemo yet, so we don't know his involvement, but there's a degree of, did this guy, is Zemo behind the Flag Smashers in the sense that he's manipulating their agenda to serve his needs?
And that sounds like something Zemo would do.
Which is something he would do, and then maybe he's giving them, like, whatever serum created the other Winter Soldiers. In theory, he could still have access to that information.
That's true. That's true.
But again, we don't know anything yet. It's just complete shot in the dark guesswork. That's as much guesswork as Mephisto for WandaVision was. So
and that's the thing. It's not like in Civil War.
Could be Mephisto. Could be mutants.
Could be Mephisto. Could be mutants.
That guy could have been Magneto for all I know.
If you saw that Flag Smasher guy swatting a fly, and the fly went away. It's like, that fly's Mephisto.
That fly could have been.
He got his powers from Mephisto.
That hand was red.
The hand was red. This is true. Yeah, you didn't see any claws on it.
I think we cracked it.
Shit, still, man.
Broken. Wide open. You heard it here first, folks.
But still, it's not like, after in Civil War, after they gave, like, those certain soldiers the serum, it's not like they just gave them the serum. It's like, that's it. Obviously, they must have studied the serum. Yeah. Somehow.
There's probably formulas somewhere.
Exactly.
Or notebooks.
Exactly. Look at all the exploration Zemo was doing in Civil War.
Yeah.
So it's possible that he could have found something that particularly was rendered with that type of serum. Whether it was the real serum or not, who knows? It might have been temporary, but he might have found something.
Yep.
He's a very smart guy, obviously.
And he could be working with someone where he's got the I want to say the mechanical ability, but that's wrong. The where he's got the ability to come up with like the plan, but then he's working with a character like in the comics, the Fixer or something like that. Like that guy's the tech guy, that guy's the science guy. Zemo could have gone, here are notebooks left over from the Soviet Union where they were creating their super soldiers. Use this stuff to create our own stuff. Like it could even be something like this could be something where maybe something was introduced in Black Widow that Zemo could then pick up elements of.
This is true.
Which then get brought forward into the modern era. And we don't know because we haven't seen Black Widow. And again, I kind of doubt it. But Efrain, do you have anything else with Bucky and Falcon? Or the Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
Exactly.
Someday I'll get it right?
Someday, yes. Hopefully someday soon.
Never. This will be my new Wanda Monica.
It's just, I hope every episode is this length. I know we're only getting 6 episodes, so it's not going to be that long. So we're going to enjoy it as much as we can, and we highly enjoyed the first episode. And yeah, I know it's going to continue on, and like they said, this is going to be completely different from WandaVision. So I'm very excited for the next episode. Hell yeah.
As am I. On that note, thank you everybody for joining us for another episode of whatever this is. We'll be back next week with episode 2.
Yes, indeed.
Hopefully we'll get to learn more about the new U.S. agent or new Captain America. And, we'll see you then.
See you then.
Bye.
Later.